What's up, my fellow compadres? It is good to be with you guys, and welcome to today's leadership podcast. Going to be finishing up. I know I said we talk about it a couple more weeks, but I'm just going to kind of lump sum this thing into today's podcast, and we'll be done with it. And then this will most likely be the last leadership podcast of this year of 2014, and then we will re-pick up and revisit this stuff in 2015. And so today we'll do part 3 of practical boundaries, and I just have a couple thoughts for you guys, just a couple more ways to protect us, a couple more ways to protect students, and just a couple thoughts on how to continue to make the salvage yard a safe place and a safe environment for everyone who walks through those doors. And so, some of this stuff is kind of awkward to talk about, but we need to address it. And so if we don't address it, students will come in with no boundaries, and they'll create some boundaries for us, and it's probably going to be boundaries that we would never want to be there in the first place, or I should say probably lack of boundaries. And they'll create a culture that we probably never wanted to find ourselves in, and then it's just going to be a battle trying to recreate that culture. And so I just have a couple really simple thoughts, practical takeaways for us today. And I was talking to Amanda about this just last week, and talking about physical boundaries, the actual touching of students and what that looks like. And I think we came to a pretty good conclusion, a pretty good train of thought, practical thing that would really help us. And have you guys ever heard that song, Head, Shoulders, Knees and Toes? Head, shoulders, knees and toes, and whatever. I'm not going to sing it for you, you know it. But I was thinking that would actually be a really cool boundary for us to use when just touching students, kind of period. Even if it is a student of the same gender, but really the head, the shoulders, the knees, and the toes, are good enough. There's no reason to be touching a student really anywhere else. And so, from the shoulders to the knees, absolutely not. That is, from the previous youth ministry, the girls did a skit and they called that "This is my no-no square. Don't touch me there." And so kind of a crazy, funny way to depict that. But, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, those are safe places to touch a student. And especially when it comes to students of the opposite gender, I think we've got to be careful, because just by a touch, we can really communicate the wrong message. And students, especially going through this hormonal stage and phase of their life, it is going to be a lot easier for them to misinterpret those feelings, and you might send a message that you totally didn't mean to. And so I think we need to be aware of how we steward that time of when we're, really hugging on students, loving on students, physically touching them. So the goal of this is not to tell you to never ever touch a student, but just to think through the thought process of maybe how a student would be reacting. Ask yourself, what message am I sending right now? Why am I hugging so and so? And I think that would just be a safe place for us. So head, shoulders, knees, and toes. I personally prefer the side hug. I think especially when it comes to me to a female student, it is always a side hug. I never full front hug. I believe that that's totally inappropriate, and I would never want to see that from you guys. Never, never, never. And so, guys, I'll go up and I'll give them the big bear hug, and I'm all about that. I love to hug people. Physical touch is my second highest love language, and so I love to hug people. And so when we're hugging, students of the opposite gender, really question whether or not you need to be hugging that student. A high five, works just as well. But if you have that close connection with them, and, you feel it's appropriate in that moment, a side hug is totally fine, is perfect. And so I would like to adopt that. And the thing is, the side hugs are awkward, and it makes for a really funny kind of encounter. It helps us be awkward so that students don't have to. And so those are just a couple thoughts. Side hugs and head, shoulders, knees, and toes when it comes to touching students. And Let's continue to make this a safe place for our students. I think our students feel safe right now, and if we're going to go to the next level, let's begin to just create a safe culture here at the Salvage Yard. And so you guys are doing an awesome job. Thank you for jumping on board with this. And I'm going to be signing out right now. So thank you for listening to these podcasts. And we'll pick these back up in 2015. Love you guys. Peace.